HotelTonight gives us a list of things that frequent American flyers find annoying when traveling. A dachshund in Kentucky digs her way 4 feet under, and she has to be rescued. Marvel fans are going crazy with this new Avengers Doomsday trailer, and a federal judge puts the Viacom and Warner Brothers Discovery merger on pause. Find out more on today's episode of the Blind Radio Guy podcast.
Another day is here. It's the Blind Radio Guy podcast.
Blind Radio Guy podcast, episode 93. Yep. We're here to talk all the things that I find interesting, right? Let's do that. Birthdays today for July 21st, 2026. Ernest Hemingway, who was born on this day in 1899. We would lose him in 1961. The one and only Robin Williams, born on this day in 1951, and we would lose him tragically in 2014. Romeo Santos, of course, bachata legend, part of Aventura, and went solo in 2013, right? Was it 2013? My man is turning 45 today. And then reggae artist's son, he was son of one of Bob Marley's sons, Damian Marley, turning 48 today. In 1996, on this day, the American satirical television show, The Daily Show, premiered in the United States. And I thought that was really cool to share because it's funny, political humor wasn't as big as it was until about 10 years ago. Like it was a dedicated audience who was watching the David Lettermans and those night shows that had the politicians on and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really that big of a deal. And so to think that that's when this show was on the air, right? Or 30 years in, and we had Jon Stewart, the legend, and then of course it's gone to Trevor Noah, and then there's been several people until we had the only one who could do it right, Jon Stewart, who got back to the game. So that's really cool that show has been running for this long. Super awesome. Today is Junk Food Day, so if you're a big junk food person, that's potato chips all the way up to candy bars. Whatever your junk food is, reach for it today. Today's a fun excuse, okay? It's the middle of the summer. You've been trying to do everything you can to look good for the summer. Treat yourself. And then, of course, National Tug of War Tournament Day. I don't know who's having a tournament today with Tug of War, but I'll get with one of the dogs later today and we'll celebrate. So a new HotelTonight survey of frequent flyers found that the quickest thing that annoys American travelers isn't airport lines or delays. It's the passenger sitting next to them. Was just hearing about this on another podcast that I listened to on who gets the armrest if you're in the side seats, right? If you're in the aisle or the window, you only get your armrest. That's the perk of sitting in the middle seat, right? What's the etiquette here? Because apparently people do not like the person sitting next to them because they're trying to hog the armrest. And I've been there, and I'm not a small guy. I'm a bigger guy. I've always felt really bad about how much space I might take up on a smaller plane. So I ended up just putting my elbows in my lap, like just kind of like moving it forward. Hopefully you have someone who knows how to be a good seatmate. I've often done the somebody has the front of it, I have the front of it, and they have the back of it, just based on how it goes. And that's typically what happens when I'm in the window seat on the right side of the plane, and I got my left arm. Sometimes my left arm is in front of the other person's arm, right? So tell me, how do you feel about that? Topping the list, armrest hogging, of course, cited by 40% of respondents, followed closely by people who jump into the aisle the second the plane lands, before it's even their turn. Chatty seatmates. When I told this story, I think on the podcast before, I remember going to Orlando. This is 12 years ago. I had this woman who was sitting next to me who was studying aviation, and she told me throughout the whole flight everything that was happening. every single thing that was happening. So that was something else. Early boarders who ignore their group number, and then people who try to swap seats mid-flight round out the top 5. So if you're one of those people who's like, oh, can I switch seats? My wife is sitting there. People don't like that. Don't do that. Yeah, so if you're a big Marvel fan, the first full trailer of Avengers, Doomsday, drops this week, and it's packed with returning heroes you haven't seen in a while. Chris Hemsworth, Patrick Stewart, Florence Pugh, and Chris Evans are all back in the mix for Marvel's big December release. The preview opens with an ominous warning, something's coming that might be impossible to stop, before diving into the massive ensemble action that's become the studio's signature move. This one's shaping up to be exactly what Marvel fans have been waiting for when it comes to the Avengers. This is going to be super exciting to see. If you're a big Avengers fan, you have something to look forward to. A judge puts brakes on the Paramount and Warner Bros. Merger. Did you see this over the weekend? So a federal judge has ordered Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery to pause their massive $81 billion merger for at least 2 weeks. 12 states led by California are challenging the deal, and combining that 2 companies would crush competition in Hollywood and would leave consumers with fewer options. The states claim the merger would be bad news for moviegoers and cable customers alike. The pause gives the legal challenge time to move forward in court before the companies can proceed. At one time, we had our media being controlled by 7 companies, right? Completely monopolizing the media that we consume here in America. Through the 1980s and 90s, almost all of American media, TV, film, publishing, and radio ran through just 7 giants. Disney, Time Warner, Viacom, News Corp, CBS, NBC Universal, and Sony. That's the big 7 everyone cites when they talk about media monopolies. Fast forward to today, and instead of course, loosening up, it's actually tightened further. Comcast now owns NBC Universal, Disney swallowed up 21st Century Fox, Viacom and CBS remerged into one company, and this year, Paramount, Skydance, closed a roughly $110 billion deal to buy Warner Bros. Discovery. A federal judge has, of course, hit the pause on it because everyone is concerned about this continuous monopolization of these companies. And I love that there are social media influencers and content creators who are building their own brands and their own companies, completely throwing a wrench into the game, because this is absolutely harmful. To only have a few companies that control what we see and how we consume our audio and video and in our content, too much. And that's why we still need to preserve the internet for what it is. We need to make sure that the internet stays free, stays open, fair for everyone, because let me tell you something, that's the only way we're going to continuously receive media from all over the place. So essentially we went from 7 companies to 5 or 6, however you break it down. Disney, Comcast, Paramount, Skydance, Sony, Amazon, and Netflix holding even more of the market than before. And I thought this was a really cute story to share. My God, dogs are destructive. A dachshund named Veeta found a tunnel in her owner's backyard in Lexington, Kentucky over the weekend and burrowed her way into this tunnel. It was like a 4-foot tunnel, ending up trapped about 4 feet underground. Firefighters in Lexington Fayette Animal Care and Control teamed up to dig her out safely. I'm glad Veeta is okay, but my God, she dug her way in there. So I don't know how deep it was to begin with, but the fact that she was able to get herself 4 feet under is wildness. So Veeta, I'm glad you're okay. Don't do stupid things. I love it. Listen, that's another episode for us today. Thank you so much for checking out the Blind Radio Guy podcast. For anything and everything, me and the Blind Radio Guy and everything I'm up to, blindradioguy.com. Find me on social media at Blind Radio Guy, all over social media. And all the links to these stories will, of course, be in the show notes. And I'll see you tomorrow to do it all over again.